Hi, I'm Marie from Marino Library and welcome to Spring into Storytime. You might have noticed a pirate in the beginning there. Well, I have a pirate story for you today and it's called Lighthouse Joey, written and illustrated by Marie Burlington and published by the O'Brien Press. Let's see what happens.
High on the rocks at the edge of an old fishing village stands a lighthouse. This is where Joey lives with his mum and dad and his pet seagull, Skipper. The lighthouse has 5 rooms, and inside it looks like this. Joey found Skipper when he was out one day collecting shells. The seagull was a very young bird and had a damaged wing. It hopped along the sand. "Caw, caw," cried the little bird. "Wait here," said Joey. "I'll go and get something to eat." Joey brought scraps of food. Then the young seagull followed him home. "Can I keep him, Mum?" begged Joey. "Can I, please?" "We'll see," said Mum. That usually meant yes. Joey made a bed for Skipper out of a box and some straw. He put it under his window and Skipper settled in. This was his home now. He could still fly a little bit, but not too far. Joey loved living in the lighthouse. He loved the sound of the sea going swish, swish under his window. It lulled him to sleep at night. Every night, the large beam of light from the lighthouse cut through the darkness like a magical sword. It guided ships at sea and kept them safe from rocks and danger. Joey knew that each lighthouse had its own special signal. This told sailors where they were. Joey's was one flash every 10 seconds. Joey often counted the seconds. He would look for that signal if he were lost at sea. He would know then he was near home. And when the fog came, the foghorn sent out its special sound. It warned the ships where the dangerous rocks were. Joey's best friend Danny said that it sounded like a sick cow, but Joey loved the comforting noise. He felt warm and safe in his bed. "I like living in a proper house with a garden," said Danny. But Joey was happy in his lighthouse home. The sea was his garden. Joey's dad was the lighthouse keeper, and he had to look after all the equipment. He fixed anything that broke. He wrote a report every day. Joey's dad's job was very important. The sailors depended on him. Every morning, Joey watched the sailing boats and the fishing boats go out to sea. In the late evening, he watched them return again. He hoped they would be safe. Nearby was the beach. The rocks and caves echoed with the memories of the sea, and Joey knew all its stories and legends. Joey and Danny often pretended to be pirates. Jumping Jack and his mate. The old stories said that Jumping Jack's treasure was buried in the biggest cave. They went into Jumping Jack's cave. "Arr, me hearties," they shouted. "Arr, me hearties. Hearties, hearties, hearties." The cave echoed back. One night a storm blew up. Joey looked out his window. The wild waves crashed against the shore. Joey could see the lights of the houses in the harbour. Suddenly he saw a strange light. A small beam was swinging back and forth near Jumping Jack's cave. Very strange, thought Joey. That looks like a lantern, but nobody used lanterns anymore. Had Jumping Jack come back from the past to search for his treasure? Joey felt really scared. He jumped into bed and pulled the covers over his head. Ooh, went the wind. Joey shivered. The next day, He told Danny about Jumping Jack looking for his lost treasure. "Let's see if we can find it first," said Danny. Joey and Danny searched the beach and caves. They wore their favourite pirate outfits. They were the world's scariest pirates. They screamed their worst blood-curdling screams. They found driftwood and shells and stones. Joey added them to his collection on his windowsill, but they did not find any treasure. But on his way home, Joey found something strange. It was a pair of boots, old boots, very old boots. They were stuck in the sand near the lighthouse. Were they Jumping Jack's boots? The next morning, Joey and Skipper went to the cave to check on the boots, but the boots were gone. Very strange, Joey thought. Maybe Jumping Jack was hanging around somewhere. He looked along the beach. He looked at the rocks. Nobody. "Come on, Skipper," he said. "Let's go." But Skipper was pulling at something. It was stuck between the rocks just inside the cave. Joey went to see. Wow, it was a big, old key. Was it the key to Jumping Jack's treasure chest? Joey ran home and showed the key to Mum and Dad. "Maybe it opens the door," said Mum. Dad knew all the old places in the town. They tried the door of the old church. They tried the door of the old prison. They tried the doors of the old cottages, but the key did not work. Joey put the key with his collection. One night, as the moon shone in his window, Joey saw the key twinkling in the light. Were there any old places that he hadn't tried? "There's one place," he thought, "here, in our own lighthouse." The next day he went down to the storeroom. It was under the lighthouse. Dad used it as his workshop. He found what he was looking for under a pile of wooden boxes. It was a trapdoor with a big round metal ring on top. Joey moved the wooden boxes. He grabbed the handle of the big trapdoor. He pulled and pulled. At last the old trapdoor opened. There were steps going down. Was there something down here that Skipper's key would open? Joey took down the torch that hung beside the storeroom door. It was dark and the steps were slippery. Down he went until he came to a long passageway. He crept forward slowly. Water dripped down from the roof. Suddenly the passageway opened out in different directions. Which way should he go? Joey could not see a thing. "I should go back," he thought, but which way was back? "Am I lost?" he thought. Then he heard a noise somewhere. What was that? Was it Jumping Jack? Wait, it was Skipper. "Caw, caw," Joey heard. Skipper must have hopped along the beach. He must be at the other side of the caves. "Caw, caw," cried Skipper, telling Joey which way to go. "Caw, caw." "I'm here, Skipper," shouted Joey. Skipper hopped and flew outside, and Joey listened and followed his cry. Soon Joey came to the last cave, and there, hidden in the rocks, was a wooden trunk. The treasure! "Here, Skipper," he shouted. Skipper found a small gap in the roof of the cave. He hopped in. Joey took out the key and put it in the keyhole. It fitted perfectly. He turned it gently. He opened the trunk. Inside, wrapped in a faded cloth, was a scroll. It was tied with a ribbon. Joey raced back to show it to Mum and Dad. They were angry with Joey for going into the caves, but they were excited too to see the scroll. They took it to the museum. The curator was amazed. He opened the scroll carefully. It was a map of the old town. There were lots of arrows on it. "Wait," he said. He followed the arrows with his finger. "The map leads here, right under our noses. Right under our feet. Imagine Jumping Jack's treasure was here all the time." They lifted some of the old stone slabs in the big hall of the museum, and there it was, a large box covered in precious jewels. Inside were lots of gold coins. The box was placed in the museum. It was the best treasure ever found in the village. The museum had 2 copies of a Skipper's key made, one large one for Joey and one small one for Skipper. Their picture appeared in the papers. Lighthouse Joey and Seacoast Skipper find pirate treasure, ran the headlines. Lots of tourists came to visit the town. They took pictures of Joey and Skipper and looked in Jumping Jack's cave. Joey never did find out who owned the old boots. Maybe they were Jumping Jack's boots after all. The end.
Well, that was very exciting. I hope you enjoyed that. See you next time for another story. Bye for now.